All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome back to the Guard Up Podcast. Welcome back to the Guard Up Podcast. Have I turned you away yet? I hope not. Whew, guys, wow. If Wren looks like he was staring into the abyss, it's because he's been learning Houdini all day, and he looks like a man who's been watching tutorials on sops, vops, flops,
chops and cops.
Chops. Yeah.
Chops and cops.
Yeah. Chops, cops, vops, sops. It basically, like, sop is like a surface operator. A vop is a vector operator. A cop is a, I don't know.
Do you know that Houdini is the one that gave Buster Keaton his nickname Buster?
Really?
Really?
Mm. The Houdini.
The
himself.
Harry Houdini.
Wow.
Is Buster the one who busted him in the gut and killed him?
Wait, was his
Nope.
first name Gary?
Buster.
Is that what you just said?
No, Harry.
Oh, Harry?
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder he went by Houdini.
Harry
It's way cooler
Deany.
than Harry.
Yeah.
So I'm learning this new program called Harry. So I was saying a moment ago before we had technical difficulties, you went to go get a La Croix, and I was reminded how we had Gavin over for Gavin from the Slimo Guys, and we were filming an episode for the Guillotine channel, and we chopped a whole bunch of these cans in super slow motion. It was great,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
forget what happened, but I think I ended up losing a bet or something like that, and I had to chug the entirety of one of these things in one go,
Yeah.
and I
Ouch.
did it.
How'd that go?
It was fine. I did the whole thing, and then I had so much gas in my stomach from this that I had to burp really badly.
Yeah.
But when I did, it just came out in one long just like breath, as opposed to like a normal burp sound effect. And Gavin, I remember him commenting. He was like, "It sounded like you just opened a valve and vented."
It did though. It did. It sounded like
Was it funny because of that or because he said it with an English accent?
Well, everything Gavin says is gonna be funny because he's got an English accent.
it's true. Yeah.
That's the one Englishmen and women, if you're listening, that's the one thing. I'm sure we feel you guys probably hear the same thing when we talk. Probably sounds funny.
Maybe. Yeah. I think
But,
New Zealand accents.
It either
is
sounds
New Zealand.
smarter or it sounds like funnier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New Zealand accents are like the height
Yeah.
of funny English
Yeah,
accents.
yeah.
My name is
You
Korg.
don't even-
I've made of rocks.
Yeah.
We're here to start a revolution.
You can say whatever you want in a New Zealand accent. It's funny.
Get away with it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had a buddy in college who had an Irish. What should I do with this? Should I just drink this and then put it on, or
Probably.
are we
There's
like
a
at
little-
in between sips, Gavin Newsom phase right now, or like what is the proper protocol?
The
for this?
newest
I'm just gonna
line.
drink this.
The
and then
newest
I'll put it
line of
back on.
masks has a little zipper right here. You just kind of put the nozzle in and drink it.
like a chastity mask.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, are those real?
Probably. I bet there is. I think the next phase is just like you just get a hose that's connected to the mask, and you can just go,
Yeah.
just slurp it on up.
We should get a beer bucket.
Yeah, a beer bucket on top.
Yeah. and
Oh, I
then-
have news. I'm half vaccinated now.
Half,
you are?
half-inated.
I got my first
Congratulations,
shot on
man.
Friday. Thank you.
Hey,
And at first I was a little
yeah.
hesitant because a friend of mine runs a vaccine clinic, and I was like, wait, am I like cutting in line? Is this like ethically irresponsible for me to do?
And he was like,
And-
yes.
No, he was actually like, no. So the issue is that a vaccine, you have to store it at a really cold temperature, but once you start thawing it out,
Yeah.
you can't just refreeze it.
Right.
You got to use it or lose it.
Something like negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
right?
it's ridiculously cold. Thanks, Dippin' Dots. And I don't. Okay, don't read Dippin'
Technology provided by Dippin' Dots.
Yeah, and so it's like if they don't, then it becomes a logistics problem. They're not able to get enough people to come in to use all of the vaccines.
Okay.
And so at the end of the week, they always have like just a few extra.
The open.
And so they're like, so then the staff kind of gets their friends in. And I was like, this seems sketch, right? This seems unethical. And apparently, like, economists and doctors are all saying, no, actually, it is better for the world for you to take advantage of that. They're encouraging people to go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter if you're skipping the line. Go ahead and just do it, because the quicker everyone can get vaccinated, the quicker we can get through this.
Right.
So I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to go do my part.
Okay, so I heard. So when do you take your second?
March, late March.
Okay.
Like 4 weeks later.
So I was listening to Game Theorists. They did an interview with Dr. Fauci.
The game theorist?
Yeah.
Like the game theory channel? Like
Mhm.
Matt Pat?
Yeah, Matt
Okay.
Pat and his wife. Her name is Sarah.
I forget her name, yeah.
They did an interview with Fauci, and he said in the interview, I don't know what he meant by this, and I'm hoping maybe we can get some clarity here from our educated group of commentators
All
here.
these top scientists.
But I wanted to ask you guys. He said that the vaccination doesn't prevent you from getting COVID. It just prevents you from having symptoms.
Yeah, I mean,
Interesting.
technically, no vaccination prevents you from
That's what-
getting
yeah.
like the disease gets into you, but then your body has antibodies to fight it off.
That's what I was thinking. Is like maybe that's what he meant, but it wasn't. It was like one of those sound cues where, if taken out of context, it was like, oh, maybe he should be. Maybe they should talk to him about the language that he used for that. Because,
Yeah, that's confusing
because
language
it's
right there.
confusing. But then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Think about when you get a flu vaccine. You get the flu.
Kind of.
You can catch it, but your body kills it right away
Oh, I see what you're saying.
because it's got antibodies.
Yeah,
So you still catch it.
but you don't replicate it, and it doesn't take off and spread through your system.
Okay, so under this new vaccine, if you take it, can you then spread it to other people?
Uh,
Not
or I don't.
really.
That's what I was confused.
I mean, I'm not a
about.
doctor, but my understanding is no.
yeah, from what I know, there's still.
Ren's our in-house science man.
Yeah, he's
All
a-
questions of science inevitably defer to Ren.
I am the world's foremost expert.
He's a Neil deGrasse Tyson of everything.
Dude, I put Neil deGrasse Tyson to shame with my science knowledge. Anyway, so I'm going to expertly talk about something I'm definitely not an expert in.
So the theory.
What were we
on it.
talking about?
Just can you spread it to other people now
Right.
that you've taken it?
The jury's still out. It's not exactly known. There's not enough data yet
Sure.
to determine whether or not, if you are fully vaccinated, can you still transmit the virus? Because like you're saying, it's like if you're fully vaccinated, you can still like interact with the virus. You can get it into your system, and it just means that you know, like you're saying, it's like you can fight it off. You're not going to like be sick from it, but it is still possible that you can go around and spread it to others.
That question came in the context of whether or not you should be continuing to wear a mask either after you've had COVID or you got the vax.
And that's exactly it. I
so
will
it's just a
continue to wear a mask
precaution?
in public, even if I'm fully vaccinated.
So just as a precaution.
Yeah, more or less. But
the
I
mask
think,
is also a nice social cue to be like, hey, I'm taking this seriously. I'm trying to be safe. you
absolutely.
know. Yeah.
But I think things will change once, like, you know, someone else is fully vaccinated. Then you both can let your guard down.
Then Matt can go on a Tinder date again.
Yep, been
Thank
holding
God.
out.
Yeah,
so
he's been saying no to all those requests.
Yep, no thanks, not until COVID's over. That's what I say.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that was a question. We don't have to dwell on that topic. But
Yeah.
I
mean, don't like so the COVID it stays on surfaces though, right? For like however long, days or so. So.
Surfaces aren't
I don't
that
think
big of a
so.
deal. It's more about the aerosolized aspect of it. It stays in the air longer than we initially realized, and it's all about breathing. You know, this is a lung disease type thing. It's a respiratory illness.
Okay.
Yeah.
My point was that we're all surfaces as well, so I don't know if like that it could spread that way.
I mean,
through, like,
it can.
hand-
It can. You
hand
can get it from
I'm
touchy,
feeling
surfaces.
touchy.
good about herd immunity coming up here. 3 of my neighbors have had it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't been with them while they had it. but-
Two of my neighbors
Yeah.
were taken to the hospital via fire trucks and ambulances.
Oh,
Wow.
geez.
Porter
And-
Junction, the guy that works there, that's the dad of that family that owns that place, had it in January, and he had to go in and ventilator and all that stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He's old. He's in the demographic that's
Yeah.
been hit hardest, obviously. But yeah,
Of the 2 neighbors that went, only one came back.
No.
Oh man.
yeah, yep.
You know,
That's-
it's weird that like just
tragic.
because of like the culture in America right now around COVID, we haven't gotten to the point yet where we've really started to acknowledge and memorialize like the 500,000 people that have died. You know, we're just starting to get there. But even then, most people like are either kind of in that denial phase or just like the I'm not going to worry about it till it's over because we got to get through it phase, which I all get. But like
Grieve later.
at a certain point, we need to do the whole like, hey, let's take a moment and like reflect on the people that
Yeah.
we've lost from this, you know.
Yeah.
But we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, loss is ever present. I don't know where I'm at in that mix, but I do know that it's
We are doing a thing for charity in about 2 weeks here.
yes.
Can we talk about that yet? No, I'm
We
just
are
gonna say
live
no.
also, by the way.
We are
Remember,
not going to talk about that. We have to be extra on guard because we are live now.
On God. I don't know. Well, I mean, the idea is that we're gonna. I'll save it. Let's just
Let's save it.
Yeah, we'll do another podcast as we get closer for
Okay.
that one. But yes, we are doing a thing for charity in about 2 weeks here, specifically COVID-19 related charities.
yeah.
Um,
And
I anticipate that we'll raise a good chunk of money for it too,
hoping so.
because we're getting help from somebody
Yeah.
who has a lot of clout right now.
Dear God,
put it
yeah.
lightly, has a lot of clout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
To piggyback on that topic without mentioning anything, I bought some Bitcoin funds the other day.
Oh no, really?
Yep, I know. See, I don't know.
Why did you do that?
It was just to see, just so that I'm like
Well, when
mentally,
did you buy it? When did you buy it?
like last week. Except
Okay, that's
it's dipped. Well, it's dipped 10,000.
It's dipped a lot since last week.
Well, what's it at now?
It's up over 50,000 now.
Again?
It's all over
Yeah.
the place.
Because on Friday.
Nico, you are so
I sold.
bearish
I sold,
on
I'm
all
out.
of it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
here's
I'm
the
out.
thing. Here's the thing. Here's what convinced me. Obviously there's an insane value.
It's at
right?
48.9.
Okay, I bought it less than that, so I'm good. But it's probably gonna go down. But in time, it's probably gonna be above that.
Will it? Because it's also highly inefficient.
It's extremely inefficient, but I'm testing it. I didn't invest a lot. It's not like I took my kid's
Sure.
college fund and was like, "Here we go, that's right." It was like a couple $100, you know, like just so that I'm mentally
Yeah.
like it's in the back of my head. But if you think about it as analogous to gold, then maybe the value is going to continue to go up slowly in time. Obviously, there's a giant spike. It's completely in the whims of whatever the hell it is right now. There's no predicting a value of it of any kind. I'm not trying to say that there is. Only reason I did it is just to like, oh, let's just ride this train and see
you
what
bought
happens.
a ticket. And
Yeah.
now you're on the cruise ship.
Yeah.
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 And so I don't know, but if there's only a finite number of Bitcoin, if they don't mine more, then technically you would have a demand supply situation, which I think the reason for the spike is because of that. People are like, oh, there's only so many of these left.
Yeah. Well, this
I wouldn't
This
say
is
that's
all
for the reason for the
speculation, by the
spike.
way. Tear me apart in the comments. Go ahead. This is all speculation.
Can they tear you apart right now in the comments? Let's find
Probably.
out.
Probably.
Yeah.
Somebody tear him apart, please.
Jake, I tear you apart.
One tab,
I
please.
figured I was like, God, this seems like a clown train. Let me buy a ticket and get on it. See what's on here.
I find it odd how like human beings function where like the moment you're like, oh, it's limited. There's only so many. Well, I need some of that.
Well,
So I can
see,
have it a little bit. It's like, cool, I invented another thing that's limited. And then I invented another thing that's limited. And then I invented another thing that's limited. It's
It's
like,
all limited.
yeah.
Question is how limited, Nico? Think about diamonds.
Technically diamonds aren't limited because it's made out of carbon. There's a lot of carbon.
Well, there's obviously a finite supply of everything in an infinite enough universe, but like diamonds. Diamonds are valuable, right?
Kinda.
They're valuable because De Beers said they're valuable 100 years ago and formed a whole market around it behind wedding rings and like you are only valuable to your partner if you buy her the most expensive ring you
Right.
can't afford.
So I always hate that assessment of value. Like, well, it's valuable if people think it's valuable. You know, like obviously you want there to be inherent value in something at the end of the day, but that's not always the case either. It's weird.
Well, is there inherent value in art?
Depends on if you enjoy
Depends
it.
on if
it's
you
historical.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
feel like emotionally
Because it's
attached to it.
subjective, you know?
Right.
So why is there a $70 billion market for art?
I mean, there is value in art. There is inherent value in art, and I would point to the example of music. Like I think we've all heard songs that have made us cry or made us happy or pulled us from one emotional state to another, and I think there is inherent value in that. I don't know what it's worth in terms of dollars or coins, but Yeah. In a diamond? I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, is there anything that's valuable that we don't put a value to?
If you give a loved one now we're in the weeds, man.
I don't even know if that's a weeds though. That's like just how that's just how it works.
It's true.
We put value into everything that exists.
I guess there's inherent value in diamonds. If you give a loved one a diamond and they like are like, you know, not to gender stereotype, but like if you give a girl a diamond, she's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's if it's value whenever people put value into at the end of the day. I mean, we're human beings. Like all these things, they're just shiny rocks. Like they're just numbers. They're just baseball cards. They're just stuff.
It's
guys
true.
It's just a metal that won't corrode.
Yeah.
See, that has inherent value.
Well, that is a good, but as people say, or I think Elon Musk said this, if you own gold stock or gold things, like it's just a number on paper, as is crypto.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
It's not like I bought a Bitcoin. I bought an index, which is like, just a.
So technically, if you actually want to own gold or silver, you should go and physically have some gold and silver.
Right. And I do think that that's like not necessary at all, but also like if you can do it, you should do it, because if shit really hit the fan.
If shit really hit the fan, ammo is the currency.
Ammo is definitely the currency.
Hell yeah, brother.
Woo, son, have you seen the price of ammo lately?
No,
It's
I don't want to see it.
insane. It's
Oh,
going
man.
crazy.
Wow.
And it's like
Thankfully-
you'll go to the store to buy bread with bullets. Like you won't put them in a gun ever. You're just like,
Right.
all right, 2 bullets for this
Yeah,
slice.
it's like cigarettes in prison. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jeez. I'm getting into like Fallout Cap territory with that. Like, jeez.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, you can melt down the brass and do other things with it, I guess.
You could.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would, though.
I'm just riffing here, though. Today's, I think, a riff cast. If you guys have any
Riff
other
cast.
topics that you want to talk about, feel free. Otherwise, I'll keep going on the my completely uneducated assessment of the inherent value of all things.
Economics with 4 people who don't study economics.
I do have an undergraduate degree in economics.
Oh, just kidding. Okay, Jake actually has economics.
But
Yeah.
that only gets you so far. Like, let's be honest. It's time to take off into the trajectory of learning and fun and all things interactive, because with today's sponsor, Brilliant.org, that's exactly what you can do. Now, if you don't know, Brilliant.org is a website and app that has over 60 courses that help you understand fundamental concepts of math, science, and computer science. And through the interactive experiences that those courses take you through, you'll better understand the laws that shape our world. Now, I've told you guys about some of the math courses, some of the probability courses that I've taken, but another course that I found really interesting was casino probability. Now, obviously, casino probability is just probability in statistics, but the application of them within craps, blackjack, and poker made it much more applicable to experiences that I was familiar with. I've played blackjack, I've played poker. Not only did it increase my chances of maybe winning a little bit more, it also just helped me understand the game a little bit more, which makes it a little bit more fun to play in general. That's why I wore this slick jacket today, because I felt like I could walk right into the golden nugget and put 20 down right there at the blackjack table. Head on over to brilliant.org/corridorcast. You can sign up for free, and the first 200 people to sign up using brilliant.org/corridorcast will get 20% off an annual membership. All right, let's go back to the podcast.
I read an interesting theory. You know, it's kind of why things like the stock market spiked in the pandemic, why things like Bitcoin spiked, why things like GameStop has spiked. You know, obviously some of those things are caught up in trends online and things like that. But, you know, when you have stimulus spending, you do end up with inflation in certain regards, but we haven't had inflation in a lot of the consumer price index things, which can be misleading because consumer price index, it generally references things that middle class to lower class people buy.
Yeah.
Now, when you do, like, say, a $600 stimulus check or the, you know, small business loans, things like that, that goes to somebody who's struggling to pay their rent or struggling to make ends meet because they don't, you know, they lost their job. Then you don't get a sudden influx of cash. You just get somebody paying the rent, which is already happening. But if somebody already has their bases covered, you know, they're making enough income that, you know, a $600 stimulus check isn't paying the rent because they already have the rent paid, then that goes into the stock market. Or it goes into investments, it goes into savings. You know, maybe they go out and buy something with it, but a lot of people just save it, you know, because they don't need to spend it right now. And so that's one of the reasons why you see an inflation in something like the stock market, but you don't see that inflation yet in like consumer goods. It's a theory, just that I read online.
A game theory.
It's just a theory.
But that is something that we're looking at right now. When in something like when Bitcoin jumps up to $50,000 a coin, a bit, you always go like, man, Bitcoin is so valuable. But you should pause and remember that, Einstein's theory of relativity. Did Bitcoin go up in value or did the dollar go down in value?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. Definitely both.
Same with everything
Because it's weird. It's really weird. Like, first of all, we operate on this Federal Reserve System, which is everyone bashes on the Federal Reserve, but actually it's a very robust like system that keeps a lot of things from going wrong. But that aside, when you have a bunch of people that are like, take that example, take that $600 and then you save it. Well, now you took it out of circulation effectively. Like, yeah, it can go into a savings account and then the reserve rate, they can charge interest on it, and they can invest it in other areas. But like you didn't take it and then immediately give it out into like some sort of consumer product, right? So that all of a sudden now it's hard to tell like how much money is actually in the system.
Yeah.
Because you don't see as much of it going around from transaction to transaction, day to day. You can look at things like bank reserves and things like that to understand that, but at the same time, it makes it, there's more smoke and mirrors than there was prior.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's weird. We're in a really weird, an unprecedented economic time for sure.
Yeah.
Like, maybe things will hum along, and maybe that's just where the value is. And it's like, maybe the Dow is like 30,000 plus, and maybe Bitcoins are 50,000, and maybe it's all fine.
I feel like we're reaching a point where everybody's like, look, I just realized that currency is totally a made up thing. So my V-Bucks and Fortnite are just as valuable to me as my crypto art, which is just as valuable to me as my Ethereum. Like, it's all just the same thing.
Only so true though.
Well, that was how Ethereum started. The guy whose name, Vitalik something, I forget his name, some kid who invented Ethereum when he was like 19 years old because he wasn't pleased with how Bitcoin was operating. He was inspired to do that because he had been playing World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, you get gold, right? And you can actually sell that gold from in-game for real-world cash. Mm-hmm. And then one day, Blizzard kind of changed the way the World of Warcraft economy works. And it overnight adjusted the value of all of the in-game gold. And so it's like, imagine the government just one day changes something and you now don't have the same amount of money you did the day before.
Oh, I don't need to imagine.
So there,
I'm just saying, it was like he didn't like how that was, so he wanted to create something that was more decentralized where you couldn't do something like that.
Right.
And so he created Ethereum.
Which is the value of crypto to people, is that it's decentralized.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note though, there is also another side of that where it's like when people get to the point where they're like, all money has no value and it's all just, then you get into a complete other, you get to the other side of this crazy perspective, which is like, well, then why don't we just like print a bunch of money and give it out and there'll be no consequences to it? We don't know anything about that territory. That's like pointing a...
I mean, we do. They did it in Germany.
What does that mean?
Hyperinflation.
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely possible. And we've seen examples of that. Now, the head of the Fed right now is saying like, yes, we know why there was inflation in the 70s and the 80s. And we know all these other instances of hyperinflation, and we know a lot about those. Yes. But also what he said was like, right now, we don't know if those same things apply or if they don't. And it's like it's like a really weird, that's why things are so weird right now, is because we've previously it was like, oh, well, this hyperinflation in the 70s happened because of this. Hyperinflation in Germany happened because of that. Hyperinflation in Venezuela happened because of that. Da 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 da. Now it's like, is there going to be hyperinflation because of this? And it's like, well, we have these tools. All the Fed says is like, well, we have these tools, and we can use them, and we'll see what happens. And it's like, whoa, I don't know what that means, because like, yeah, it's surreal sometimes. Like it could just be that the world economy has gotten to a level of flatness where now it's sort of evolving into another like layer of itself that hasn't existed before. That's entirely possible, but it's also entirely possible that it's not that case, and we're just kind of way off on a curve right now. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? Like hyperinflation is printing money. Is that very basically what it is? Or
Basically,
Well,
yeah.
we should also be clear. When we say printing money, we don't mean they're like, fire up those printers, boys. We
Yeah.
gotta get.
I mean, that's what they did back in
add
like
a few zeros.
Yeah,
on
that
there.
is
I'm
what they
referring
did.
to Germany in like the 30s,
Yeah.
before World War II, before
Yeah.
Hitler rose to power, when it was
Right.
like hyperinflation was like such a big deal. Like you had people literally wheelbarrowing all of their cash to the store
Yeah.
to buy groceries.
It happened in the Civil War with the Southern currency. It's happened when there's like very traumatic effects. In the Civil War, they kept printing it and it wasn't even money. What it says on the actual Confederate bills is it says $10 will be paid upon a treaty of peace between the Confederate States and the United States.
Huh.
And that's, so it wasn't even, it was a credit. It wasn't even it was a credit bill. And effectively the dollar is still kind of that. It's like, it's a Federal Reserve note. It's like, this is a note for $1 and it's not actually $1.
It's not?
No.
Wait, what? Hold up. A dollar bill is not a dollar?
Well,
I mean, keep in mind, all money is just a representation of productivity, and that's one of the things. Is like, if your productivity stays the same, but you went from having $100 in your economy to $1,000 in your economy, like,
right.
all that's happening is the representation of productivity to one unit of your currency has just gone down. It's like, so at the end of the day, you need to have production to back the currency, because currency is just, to make it really derivative here, currency is just a way for us to streamline the barter system. And that's kind of one of those things too, is like, regardless of all this inflation talk and things like that, obviously you got to be aware of that, but like, at the end of the day, if you're productive and you're like valuable to society, and you're good to the people around you, if you have inherent value, you will continue to have inherent value regardless of how much money is floating in the system.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, a dollar is, I mean, this is, people are probably going to tear me to shreds on this, but there was the,
All those economists,
Yeah.
graduate students listening to the
there was
podcast
the
right now.
gold standard and there was the silver standard. We went off of those things under Nixon, and
When they're like, wait, we don't actually have to have all of the gold we say that we have
no,
to
this
back
is an
the
inherent
money
thing.
of the
This
country?
is an inherent thing that allows the economy to prosper. This is why there are so many tools that the Federal Reserve has to like regulate runaway situations, is because the Federal Reserve, the reason why it's called the Federal Reserve is because they reserve an actual amount of money
Right.
that the rest of the economy is based on, and they can loan out. If you're a banking institution, you can loan out up to 9 times the amount of money that you actually have.
Man, they got to fix their security on that system, though, because it's like, I saw Jeremy Irons steal all of it.
We're gonna lock you in the Federal Reserve. That's not how that works.
And then freaking Bruce Willis had to go and get it back. Sorry, I'm making a
Die Hard 4
Die Hard
reference?
3
3
reference.
But anyway, I'm out on a limb on the extent of my knowledge. So if you guys have more knowledge on this, definitely I'll be reading through the comments and let me know.
Yeah,
Because I always love a good education from another.
I do too. It's actually one of the best things about reading the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we talk about stuff we really know a lot about. So
Yeah.
Sam emailed me or forwarded me an email that you guys have gotten on the quarter email, because I'm learning Houdini. This dude named Edmund Belittle. I forget your last name. Sorry. Basically, there's this shot from when they were doing a bunch of nuclear testing. It was like the Apple II test or whatever. Apple Teeny. Doesn't matter. A house blows up from a nuclear bomb. It's the famous shot where like all the paint vaporizes on it.
Yeah.
And then moments later, the shockwave hits it and then just crumbles and flies away.
Yeah.
And it's insanely done because he recreated it in Houdini.
Wow.
Like redesigned the house from scratch procedurally using Houdini's procedural tools.
We're watching a
and then simulated it. Because what's happening is that as the blast goes off, the heat from the blast travels at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And so it hits the house instantly, and all the paint there is suddenly 1,000 degrees.
Right.
Like it just vaporizes.
Right.
And so that's what you see like floating off of the top of the house, and then the blast wave hits it. Yeah.
And it looks like it sucks it back into the blast.
That's what's happening is because like when the actual blast wave hits, it creates this low pressure zone. So like after every bomb, honestly, you have that. But a nuclear blast is on such a scale that you can actually see the wind pulling back in.
Wow.
It's like after a wave, like a wave splashes on the ground and then it pulls backwards. Like that force actually is quite a bit to pull you back into the ocean. And so, yeah, he recreated it very, very accurately. I was very impressed.
Sorry, go ahead.
How is Houdini so far?
It's interesting. I haven't gotten very far. In fact, I just did my first render. It's a ball on a concrete surface with a light. It's super simple.
I took a picture of it and now it's on a crypto art website. If you guys want it.
It's right now I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of the different systems in place. We're talking about cops, chops, vops, and sops, and it's like I'm just still trying to figure out that. And so I'm actually on this MoGraph course from this guy named Mark Flancher called Stop Being Afraid of Houdini.
It's a good title.
Yeah, it's a great title, and it's actually geared specifically for Cinema 4D artists. So that's why I'm trying it out, and haven't gotten very far. And what I've found about tutorials is that you have to reach a certain threshold of understanding for the program before they stop putting you to sleep.
Yeah, right.
And I'm at the stage where they're still putting me to sleep. It doesn't matter how good the tutorial is. I mean, it's just like my brain just can't function for more than like literally 30 seconds at a time. And I find myself just like...
It's so dense.
Well, yeah, part of that is just my brain. Part of that is also just like, it's the aspect of learning the user interface, all the different operators and systems and how the actual program works. And once you kind of get a basic understanding of all that, then you can do the fun stuff. And then you no longer are put to sleep.
That's what it was like when I read that Civil War history.
What?
Yeah, I had to.
There's a fun part after that, though?
There was a fun part after it. I had to understand like all the characters
Okay.
who are participating, and then like I'd be like, "Who's this? Like, what's going on?" And there was half the time where I'd be like falling asleep, and then after I got through like the first book, I was like, "Oh, okay, I remember him. I remember this." And then like by the third book, I was like, "Dude, this is great."
I would love it if Dan Carlin did a Civil War podcast.
He definitely should. Dan Carlin, I know you're listening.
He's
Dan
actually
Carlin's a
live
true
right
ton.
now. He's
Dan
listening
Carlin
live.
is actually behind this couch
Oh, hey, Dan.
recording.
Yo, what up, Dan?
What's up, Dan?
Yeah, that's cool though. I mean, it's like learning a new superpower. So
It's a lot like learning a new language.
yeah,
Is what
Yeah.
I've come to figure. And so once I actually start getting to the point where I can start producing things and making things, then it's less about watching the tutorials and more just like fumbling my way through the things and actually referencing the parts of the tutorials when I need them.
right.
Yeah, Carmichael actually said something interesting today because me and Dean were talking
No
about.
way. Hold on.
Carmichael says interesting things sometimes. It was very surprising to me. But yeah, me and Dean were talking about how specifically like keyframes didn't really do the kind of easing that we wanted it to. It just doesn't have the level of control that it does in Premiere, and you have to flip to Fusion to really get that level of easing control.
You're talking about in DaVinci, sorry.
Yeah, in DaVinci, yeah. And he just basically said, he was like, well, it's basically like how if you learn French or you speak French, you can't communicate the exact same things as efficiently or as quickly as you could in English, right? Mm-hmm. You're just not able to because the language doesn't allow you to. And you have to do certain things or communicate it in a different way to achieve that level of efficiency. And that's what I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that means that we just need to think more about how we're using Fusion in tandem with the edit page. you
Yeah.
know? And so that I'm sure that is the same thing with Houdini or any other program that's different than the one that you grew up using or have used for years
The
and
thing
years.
about Houdini though is it's so different from every other 3D program out there. It's different from Blender, from Cinema 4D, from 3ds Max, from Maya. It just the way it operates is very different.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's gonna feel. I think the hardest thing though about learning a new program, it's like skiing all your life, and then you go to like Whistler, and you start on a snowboard. And you're like, oh, there's that mountain. I just really want to ski on the whole mountain, but I gotta hit the green circles on my freaking snowboard because I don't know how to do it yet. And it's like what it's like, for me, like jumping into Unreal, it's like, like, I don't know anything. I don't know where anything is. It's frustrating. Like, it's like, know exactly what I want to do, and I know the technical specifics behind it, but it's like, where's that freaking checkbox? Time to spend the next half hour looking for that one checkbox.
So do you find collectively, do you guys find that in these learning experiences that there is like, yes, there's relearning the language and there's similar words for like the same thing, or there's a word for the same thing, but then also there's also a fundamental basis of knowledge that you have to have where you need to think about problem solving sometimes differently too, and like say, well, Adobe Premiere would solve this problem this way, but in DaVinci, because of the way that it's built, it solves this problem this way.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
so that's like a different. There's not a word for it. There's not a toggle for it in Premiere. There's.
I mean, a lot of the same principles do transfer over between 3D programs, and once you learn those principles, they do help. And then it is mostly a matter of like, okay, this is a new house with new shelves, and all of my stuff is in here somewhere.
That's
Great.
a great analogy.
Yeah.
Can we title the podcast that? A new house with new shelves and all my stuff is in here somewhere.
That's what learning a new program is like.
I think that's called expanding your mind, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what that's really called.
I want to look at the chat. Can I get to the?
Hit the 3 bars up at the top left where it says we're live. Oh, you don't have it.
I don't have it.
We don't have it displayed.
I had it
it's a
displayed.
secret. Oh, okay.
That's a chat.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're in the app.
/live-chat.
Ooh, I can just go to the. Ooh, that's
Guys,
nice.
welcome to the party. We're on corridordigital.com/live-chat. Scott, I know you can hear me right now. Turn it up.
Crank it up, Scotty! Hey, it's your boy, Scotty B, coming in hot. Don't know if your last name has a B in it, but that's funny.
Apparently, it's glitching out a lot. So,
Just
Jake,
on
10
iOS.
seconds.
Jake, I saw you recently reached out to.
Got you, Constantine.
What the fuck? Jake's going off in his own world right
Jake,
now.
I saw you recently reached out to somebody that had corridor.com.
Yeah.
Can you tell me that story a little bit?
Yeah. So there's a man who owns corridor.com. And Scott looked him up, and he's from down under. I can't remember if it's New Zealand or Australia. But he has a Twitter profile, and Scott found him on Twitter, and one of his self proclamations of who he is in his Twitter profile is professional shit talker. So I thought, this will be fun.
He'd fit in great here.
So I, he's like a troll. So I, on his site, he's got a price on there, site available for lease, and he's got the price on there. So
for corridor.com.
Yeah. And
there's
so
a price.
Yeah, of course, because he's trolling us.
Mm.
And so I emailed him and I was like, hey, we'll pay you X for this. And he's like, no, price is on the site. Terms are on the site. And I was like, yeah, that's way too much. No one's going to pay you for that.
You should just say what it was.
I'm gonna. That was my punchline.
Okay.
He wanted $8,300 a month to lease it.
Oh,
Don't even get to own it.
Yeah, like, dude, come on. Like, what scheme are you trying to run it? No, we're good. We'll stick with corridordigital.com
leasing a website
and like have fun wasting away on this URL because no one's gonna buy it from you except for us. And the amount of money that I offered, which you could have had in your pocket right now, is apparently what? You're not gonna get it.
Dude, Some people haven't listened to that old saying of a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
It really is. And I've been saying that more, and
I don't.
for some reason,
Why the heck do I keep saying it too? I said it today already. This is my second time saying it.
because it's true.
You love that
first
one.
of all.
Yeah.
But also, we say that to each other a lot,
Mhm.
and I've been saying it to other people, and some people have never heard it, and I'm like, wait, where's my Niko when I need him?
And why are you even holding a bird?
Because you caught a bird, dude.
You
Just
caught a bird.
Like that?
You can
just
like
straight
keep
up,
it as
just
a
like it
pet.
flew by. And
So my great uncle or my great grandfather, he used to raise mining birds. They weren't canaries. They were a variant of those.
the ones they'd give them little pickaxes and they go down the tunnels.
The canary with a little hard hat. And a
That's
pickaxe.
actually the term canary in a coal mine refers to a dead canary with a hard hat and a pickaxe in his little...
Oh man, those canaries worked hard back in the day. They deserve more credit.
No, but I mean, the phrase, doesn't it speak for itself? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Yeah, because you
Doesn't
can't
that
see the
speak-
bush
What
birds,
does
but you
in
can
the
see the
bush
handbird.
mean?
In the bush, in the wild.
Okay.
A bird in your hand.
I always took it literally, and I never quite
Like there's
understood
one
it.
bush and there's two birds in there, and you're like, there they are.
Like you might be able to see. So it's like a hunting analogy.
Okay.
It's like, imagine you're hunting and you see two birds,
Uh-huh.
and you're like, well, there's two birds there. Are those birds as valuable as the one that you actually have already?
Gotcha. I mean, no, like I understood.
Yeah,
I
that's
understood
what it
the
means.
phrase,
Oh,
but I
okay.
just never understood the specifics of the words, like two in the bush. It always
Okay.
sounds dirty to me for some reason.
Two in the bush. It's funny. My wife and I, she didn't grow up. She learned English as she grew up, but English wasn't her first language, and so there's all these English idioms that she doesn't know, and so sometimes we have like for example, her and her sisters grew up saying, "Oh, you're just sitting there like a pump out of la."
Pump on a lot.
Yes, and she used to say that, and I caught her one day, and I said, "What are you saying?" She's like, a pump out of law, like you're just sitting there.
Wait, pump out of law? Pump
No,
on a
pump
law?
on
like imagine you don't know English, and now imagine somebody says you're just sitting there like a bump on a log, but you don't hear. You're like bump on a log.
Bump on a log.
You wouldn't hear.
Gotcha.
You wouldn't hear bump on a log if you didn't speak English. You'd be like, wait, this
Pump on a log.
This phrase you just spoke
on a log.
makes no sense. Is this a word?
I gotcha.
And then
Yes.
your brain would naturally be like, okay, bump on a log. That's a word.
Uh-huh.
You're just sitting there like a bump on a log. And so then I was like, no, it's a bump on a log. And she's like, what does that mean? I was like, well, nothing. I mean, it means you're not doing anybody any good. You're
I've actually
equivalent of a
never
bump
heard that
on a
phrase
log.
before.
That's a
Bump
new
You've
on
never
a
heard
log.
that phrase?
Bump on a log? No.
Oh, and you're from Oregon. You should
Bump
know
on a
this.
law.
Pump on a
Dude,
log.
I spent the least amount of time in my life in
I
Oregon.
know. I'm trying to draw. I'm just trying to draw a conclusion. Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense other than like what it is, which is just, I don't know. It's probably some old logger phrase.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a crazy thing that I thought of the other day too.
Whoa.
As long as we're on etymology and word usage.
Look, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, Jake.
See, there you go.
I like that
I've
one.
never heard that.
Wait,
one.
hold on.
You've
one
never
more time.
heard "Don't look a gift horse in the mouth"?
No.
A gift horse.
Yeah.
a
No.
horse
Like
that
as
you
of
gift?
today, you've never heard of that
Yeah.
until just now.
No, I've never
Really?
heard that. Yeah.
That's such a
Okay.
common one.
A horse
thought it was a
that
common
you
one.
have like has a little bow on it. And
No,
you,
it just
you
means
give it
don't-
to somebody.
So you give someone a horse, and they're like, "I'm going to check the quality of your horse," and they're looking at the teeth to make sure it's a good horse, because that's what you do, I guess.
Oh, got
And
it.
you're like, "What the heck's wrong with you? Stop being picky. I just gave you a
It's a
present."
gift.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Got
Okay.
it.
Don't look my gift horse in the mouth, you asshole.
Yeah.
So am I doing that now?
No, I just
Oh,
I just wanted to say it.
So, anyways, I went to the rodeo the other day. And
You did. I saw
yeah,
that.
And I was
That's
learning
pretty cool.
about like they have this event called steer wrestling,
Mm.
and so I was like, "What is a steer?" I didn't grow up on a ranch. I don't know. A steer is a young male bull who's been, I believe the term is castrated. I don't know if that's the same.
Oh.
When you remove the nuts.
Isn't it gelding?
I don't know, but either way, I don't know if
but
castration
not the whole
refers-
package.
Right. I don't know if it refers. I don't know if castration refers to like the long part or the
The
round
long
part.
part.
I don't know. But either way, they remove the testicles of the bull.
Is it a moonic?
That was pretty good, Wren.
That is pretty good.
That was such
a dad joke. That is a dad
That was
joke.
really good.
maybe it's not. Eunuch's not really a dad joke. Anyways, so I was learning about the types of cattle. So a male bull is called a bull, right?
Mhm.
And when you cut him off, then when it's young, it's known as a steer. And then as it grows into adulthood, it's known as an ox. Okay. And in England and in Celtic culture, they have it's a bull ox, right? It's like the same word in ox and bull, and I don't know where the change between bull and ox happened in English, but in Old English, any bovine creature that you use for work is known as a bullocks.
So you're telling me that's a load of bullocks.
Right. So then that became a swear word. And then the term bullocks is
Bollocks.
Bollocks, right? And then they have a bullock's knife, which is a medieval knife that people used to carry that was used for like cutting food and self-defense, and it was like a little dagger. And the reason why it was called that is because it kind of looked like, a mail package.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Wow.
And so then I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about bullocks, and I was like bollocks, and then bullshit, which is our word for the same thing. And then now we have this whole phrase. You go through all that etymology down to 2 letters. We say that's BS. and BS refers to what you're actually referring to when you say BS. And etymologists, if you're listening, correct me, but this is what I drew the conclusion as, is you're saying that you're equivalent of an ox who is not a bull. Right? You don't have it to do the deed in terms of this like cattle relationship to create another cattle. So it's BS. Isn't that weird?
That's super weird.
I saw one of my favorite tweets of all time today. It was someone did an aerodynamic simulation of a cow.
What?
See this?
Not very.
Not very aerodynamic. Nope.
This is a cow going hypersonic.
Oh, so that's a shockwave pattern off a cow.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
So if cows could fly, this is what they would look like.
This is like, I never knew. I always wanted to see this. It's a cow going hypersonic.
And a cow is a female cattle,
Right.
obviously. But we also use it to refer to all cattle, which is also the same legal word chattel, which means personal property, comes from the word cattle.
Did you guys ever play the
Wow.
game Hey Cow?
I'm full of these. I went to law school. This is all I got from it.
A lot of cow knowledge.
A lot of etymology. Which makes sense. Law is very much a language-based
Is
thing.
Yeah.
They say when you get a law degree, you're a doctor of words, not of the law.
Wordsmith.
Is that why they call you Dr. Justice?
Hell yeah, brother.
What is this cow game you're
Oh
talking
yeah.
about?
Have you ever played the game Hey Cow?
No.
No. hey.
Basically, when you're driving by a farm, right, or you're on a road and you got like the fence next to you and a bunch of cows out there, cattle,
Yeah.
right? You roll down the window, and you lean your head out the window and you yell "Hey cow" as loud as you can to see if you can get the cows to run away. It works.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've done
How
it.
close do you have to be to the cows?
I've done it from a highway.
Huh. Did you like do the Wren scream at them, like a full pitched like?
Oh, like it hurts.
Okay.
I yell
yeah.
so loud it hurts.
Yeah,
Like, "Hey cow!"
And then you pass out.
Yeah.
But the cows run away.
And then one time I whipped out my phone camera and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get this on camera. And then I yelled at the cows, and this is actually me at the fence. I've gotten out of my car and was like looking at the cows. I was like, and I yelled at them, and they didn't move a muscle. They just like continued staring at me, and that was it. And that was, yeah.
Wow.
Fortunately, there's a $20 bill at my feet, and then a dragon flew over. It was amazing.
Now that's a story, right?
Yeah.
Good save.
Wow.
That's gonna be my default save for everything. But then I turned around and there was a $20 bill and a dragon. So I don't know.
One Saturday afternoon when I was like 14 years old, I was at my dad's house out in the country in Minnesota. I'm in the backyard, like doing some chore. And I look up and a cow comes rampaging over the long grass and jumps into the yard. I'm just like, huh! And it starts running at me, and I ran and jumped onto the deck and
you
got
said
inside.
it jumped over the fence?
No,
Or-
the long grass. Like,
the long
there's
gra-
like long grass around the yard. It just appears out of
It
nowhere
was
and
just lurking.
just running into the yard and it sees me and it's running towards me like, it's a cow running at me.
the heck?
Yeah, those things
Cows,
are
man.
Yeah.
funny animals.
They
Yeah.
are. They kind of like they're like the young ones are kind of like dogs. They look like
A little bit.
Yeah.
And then
Sorta.
they kind of know. I was watching them at the rodeo, and they know kind of where to go, and they understand the function and purpose of like people that are either interacting with them or farming, like and gates and like where they should and shouldn't be. Like the first thing that the bull do after the rider is they'll go for everybody and say, get away from me. And then once they feel like it's clear, if they don't feel any threats, then they'll turn around and look for how to get out of there. And the first thing that they do is look for the gates.
Oh
and
yeah.
and then the people behind the gates open it, and usually the bull just goes and takes off back there.
Does he charge through the gates?
No, they just kind of, they're not happy about it. You know, it's not like it
fine.
hurts them, but what they do is they tie a rope around their
Midsection?
yeah, like, but
Stomach?
even lower,
Okay.
like around their,
Waist?
no,
Hips?
arms,
Tail.
legs, no,
Torso?
like where you're,
Abdomen?
where you're
spots.
just above your genitals, like right low belly.
Pelvis?
Yeah, pelvis, like low belly.
Okay.
I think I might be
low belly.
wrong, but I think.
Oh, yeah, low
And then they
belly, yeah.
cinch it, and then they cinch it down. And so then once they cinch it, then then the animal's trying to get the cinch off.
Gotcha,
Which is why they
right,
kick.
right.
And then after the rider is off, then the I don't know, they're not the clowns. I don't know if they are the clowns or not, but the guys that are next to the bull, like keeping the rider safe, they'll grab the rope and untangle it. So they have to get right up to the bull and pull this rope off of it while it's all pissed off and like kicking around.
It sounds so dangerous.
Wow.
It's super
Yeah, no
dangerous, but
kidding.
it's an amazing like blend of like animal, like, you know, just like animals being animals and like humans, like, you know, interacting and commanding and trying to control. It's like it's a dance. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, rodeo's not good. It's fine because those bulls are worth so much money and they get treated like royalty.
Oh.
Those bulls live better than honestly a lot of humans. Like
Wow.
they got everything they need.
That's BS.
Look at that full circle right there.
Jake, would you say this is your first rodeo?
Oh, that was my first rodeo.
Yeah, literally your first rodeo.
Yeah.
Wow. You like
This is
it?
my first
I
rodeo.
did. It
Yeah.
was really cool. I'll definitely go again. It was really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's very Texas of you. I guess I love how you're embracing just all
You
aspects
know,
of
it's
Texas.
like, I don't know what else to do, man. I mean, they're doing it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what do people do around here? And so they go, oh, we
That's
do
one
this.
thing.
And I go, okay, I'll do that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. That's really intense. Like, I think the thing that really put it into perspective for me was that Jackass thing. You guys see the thing with I think it was with Steve-O was in it.
Did he ride?
Oh, sorry.
that like a
The
teeter-totter?
video was age gated. I couldn't see it.
Oh,
jam.
I mean, we can talk about that here in a moment if you want.
We
Yeah,
should.
actually,
We
we
should
should.
talk
So
about
what are you
that.
talking about with Jackass?
But no, I think it's in 3, but they do like actual bullfighting where they're like, of course they're like in their underwear or something.
Okay.
But they're trying to get a bull to like
Yeah.
nail them, and I think
Nail him.
I think it's Johnny Knoxville. It just gets absolutely obliterated by this
Didn't he
bull.
almost get killed because it almost stomped on his head?
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
all the
I
You
gotta
got
imagine
the
people
horn?
die all the time in rodeos. But
Yeah.
maybe not.
well, they all wear you wear helmets, and now all of them wear helmets.
Still, a bull's
full
foot
face
to your
helmets.
sternum would just crush your
It would
ribcage.
crush your rib cage. Yeah, it's just, and they wear full pads,
My God.
like on the chest.
Oh my god,
Is that the
dude.
Jackass
Is that just
episode?
This is
freaking
the
like
different one, but they did it a
bull
couple times. I
roulette?
guess.
Yeah, this is so dangerous. This is
That's
not,
insane.
this is
Niko's
not-
showing us a video of these guys on like freaking
is
seesaws
from
as a
Jackass.
bull's trying to
Yeah.
hit them.
Don't try that at home, kids.
And so the modern
Oh, there's a
bullfighting,
cinch.
the modern
Oh, yeah.
bullfighting that they do in rodeo is they have a barrel man who's like the clown and like the guy that gets the crowd riled up.
Okay.
And then he and the other fighters. Oh god.
Oh my
God.
god.
Oh, God. Yeah.
It's so bad.
That's those things.
We can't show you this video, otherwise this video will also get age
So
gated.
most of the time that stuff doesn't happen because the people that are in the arena aren't these guys.
Aren't jackasses? Yeah.
Um.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe they handle it a little bit more professionally.
They
Like,
handle it a little bit better. And
like
they know the
wanna
techniques
live.
to just like you distract it with one hand and then you go around the other side. You
Mhm.
know, like they have all those sort of practices to it. And obviously their intention isn't to do this, which is these guys are intentionally trying to rile this thing. You know, like
Right.
once
Sure.
the rider's off of it, the intention isn't to rile it. Ugh.
oh man.
Just
Yeah, get me out of there. See, that's what I'm saying though. Is like this. Look at that. That shit.
No
Put
one
it into
can.
perspective as to like how like much force is behind that.
No, that's
Those things are just very powerful animals.
and that one's a small one.
Yeah, I would never want to get
Yeah.
in there with one of those things. Like
That one's not even that big.
even with padding and
Ah,
proper precautions. Like, oh my god.
yeah, there goes a rib. There goes a rib.
Yeah.
He's running from adrenaline and fear of death.
And Johnny Knoxville is dedicated.
Yeah, he is.
I remember hearing a story about when he filmed. What was that most recent one? Like about like the amusement park or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they had a stuntman doing the stunt, and he's like, "It's just not good enough.
Nope.
I need to do it." And he went in there, he sends it and just fucks himself up. And he's like, you know, like for the
Grape
next
lady.
20 minutes on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird that he's driven to be like that. It's strange.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Always has been,
We
clearly.
respect it to a certain degree, but like,
Yeah. And then
Man.
at another degrry, you're like, why? Are you okay?
Yeah.
do we need to talk?
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be just a level of insanity that those guys are just on a different level in terms of what they're willing to do. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
He's got to have a little bit of a death
Obviously.
wish or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then again, he's made it this far and he's still alive. So
Yeah.
maybe he's like, I'm invincible.
Only
Bring it
half
at-
his
you know.
friends haven't.
That's true.
yeah, I know. Jesus.
Yeah.
So, Stuntman React on Saturday didn't get the views it normally would.
Yeah. On those
Got
notes.
age gated.
Yep. Because we had Raka Raka and we had a scene from Jackass. And so they age gated us. Which
And
is
so to clarify what that means, if you don't know, which you probably do, basically it's like you have to have a YouTube account and you also have to say that you're older than 18 years old.
You
So
have
it's
to prove
like,
it.
Hmm?
You have to prove it.
you have to prove it? How do you prove it? I've never had to prove it.
We might be grandfathered in, so actually know enough about us that it's like they know we're not 18.
Interesting.
But yeah, you have to send them a picture of your ID or credit card.
Oh no way.
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
It also might be different for each country.
So obviously that's something we try to avoid heavily because with the point of the React shows and any content that we do isn't to have it be so over the line of what's considered acceptable to, you know, we're not out there trying to find that line necessarily. Now I know we just did Harry Potter rated R, but also I think everyone well understood that was a very specific context for that piece, and it was done with the intention of trying to like apply some of these modern and more realistic techniques to this magic. But with the exception of like Tiny Guns 2, we haven't really gone out with a project of being like, hey, let's just see if this gets demonetized, just to see if there's a line out there or not. And so anyways, they age gated it, and it's tough for us because we try to make that show
That was a good episode too. And
Yeah.
Lauren Mary Kim's awesome. And it's like she's talking about some really cool stuff she did on Mandalorian. And it's like,
Yeah.
and the
that, it
idea
would
is
have been really cool to
feature-
share that with as many people as possible. And
Exactly. The idea is to feature her work,
it was really unfortunate.
educate people on why it's cool so that the next time they see the Mandalorian or they see her, they know like who she is and why, and the sort of art of the performance that goes into it. That's the idea. And so, you know, but not every, can't win them all, you know, that's just the way it goes sometimes. And yeah, it's unfortunate because I wish there was a system where YouTube could just whitelist channels, knowing like, okay, everything you're going to get from game theorists or Corridor Crew or, you know, like that have this history of years and years and years of pouring money and resources into the platform to create a a show format that like people return to and is also like considered, to be
Well,
open to a wide audience.
I mean, the point still stands though. If they would have still had to age gate the video, because it doesn't matter whether or not we were whitelisted. It's like the video itself they still deemed as being, not suitable for
That's what
minors.
I'm saying. I think maybe they should do that at the channel level, not at the video level.
But then, okay, so they do that at the channel level, but then we could have still released that video and it wouldn't have been age gated, and then that would have gone against what YouTube would have preferred.
I know, and that's the difficulty.
What if we decided to like go to this random Japanese forest and film this dead dude?
Oh my god, that is so much different.
Yeah.
I know.
The reason why it got.
I'm just saying we could do
it. The
it.
reason why is because when their big policy, the thing that they want to stay away from with respect to acts, is are these easily replicable by minors? And I get that, but it's also that's one of those policies where their philosophy is, well, if we're just a little bit more heavy-handed than we need to be, then overall it's for the greater good. And that's their philosophy there. It's the same thing with anytime you're doing a video that shows, when we did the sniper camera, anything that can be construed as how to manipulate a firearm or adjust a firearm, mechanically.
Right.
They're so adverse to anything that could be conceived of that. Obviously, we found another one. We didn't know that at the time we made that sniper video. We were like, this is fine. We're using a lower receiver from an airsoft.
That was a great video too, and it was like it's for photography.
A mount for photography.
Yeah.
That video super underperformed.
Right. And so we didn't know that at the time. Well, here we found another one. And so I just don't know how many of these are out there.
I think at this point we just accepted that, of the year, you're going to hit 5 to 10 videos that get blocked on something or another.
But I wish, and I don't mean to bash, everyone bashes on Google and YouTube. I think they do a lot to try to keep their platform.
Arguably, YouTube is like the most socially responsible social media platform out there, and it still has problems.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
It's a pretty low bar.
Yeah,
but
I think YouTube is still very exploitative of
Yeah,
minors,
right.
And it shouldn't be, but it's not TikTok.
No,
Facebook.
not TikTok. TikTok
Really,
is
everybody's just cool
terrifying.
with it. Nobody gives a crap.
Yeah.
So whatever.
So anyways, I don't mean to be Debbie Downer. I just it's interesting because we have to factor that in now, and I wish there was a little bit more of a process that channels could go through with them as they, like, as you come up, you're just creating videos, you're just trying to make ends meet, you're trying to get your following, you're trying to make your format, you're trying to do that, you're trying to contribute to the platform. Well, I wish as people came up through starting out and going through the process that there was a little bit more of a process directly with YouTube to say, okay, I've been doing this for 5 years. Like, take a team and review like the whole of our library and give us like a decision. Like, is our library like something where you can safely say like as a platform, like, hey, we stand behind this. Have us sign a contract, like whatever. But like, there should be a little bit more of that interaction, I think.
Mm-hmm. Then again, who knows how many other channels are out there that are bigger than us? Maybe we're a small fry.
There's so many big channels now.
Yeah.
It's like looking at cities in China, man. You're like, cool. There's like, this city's got 5 million people and that city's got 10 million people and they're all bigger than LA. It's like, and you never, this is maybe just me being ignorant, but you never heard of them, and it's like, dude, 20 million people live there.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's bigger than LA. It's like, wow.
There's so many channels out there now. That's how I feel. It's like,
it's kind of scary, and it's also bubbled out, so like you don't cross the borders into other bubbles. You just never know they exist.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you start seeing that
it
a
just
little bit when you get to like the end of the year, like when Mr. Beast did his whole like his own YouTube Rewind thing, and it's like it's representative of mostly what he considers to be YouTube, and it doesn't really touch a lot of facets that other people consider to be YouTube.
Yeah, which is funny because like last year we were on the trending page pretty much every weekend.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if you're going to do a YouTube Rewind, maybe the one show that hits the trending page every week for a year would be a show that would be on the Rewind, but it's not.
And I'm not bothered by it. It's just
No, I'm not
I
really
find it
bothered by it either,
interesting
but-
that like every it's all subjective, and we're all looking at my view of YouTube and who are the big creators of YouTube doesn't even touch a fraction of the huge creators out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because like you're saying, it's like, oh wow, this guy has 13 million subscribers. I've never heard of this person in my life.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 of them.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
It's really cool that they're able to establish an ecosystem that's that robust. Like, that's so. I don't think anyone ever thought it would be like that when it first started. That there'd be that many
Yeah.
like opportunities for people, and there'd be that wide and large of an audience globally. You know, it's pretty remarkable.
Do you think
Yeah.
what that means though is that YouTube might not have the resources to do what you're proposing, which is to like,
Yes, it could be that.
yeah,
It definitely could be, but you know, they are owned by Alphabet.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying like, oh, they're big companies. You got all the money in the world, so you should just waste a bunch. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that either. But logic stands that if you had a company with that large and not enough resources, that you would think, hey, maybe there's a practice that we can employ and make it efficient and economical for the people that are involved, and we can find a way to do that without losing money.
Yeah.
I would think that at least somebody's would look into it, and maybe it's just not. Maybe it's so far down on the like nitty gritty level of people that are actually creating for the platform that maybe it's something that's just overlooked. You know?
Yeah.
Could I play us out with my handpan?
Oh, dude.
Ooh,
Wait,
yeah.
real
Nice.
quick though, I want to
Yeah.
I want to mention something. It's like just going back to what we were talking about a moment ago with the thousands of channels that are all huge. It's like Corridor as a company with even if you were to combine all our channels together, we're not even in the top like 10,000 of channels.
What?
Maybe
Yeah, we are.
10,000. Okay, sure. I made that up. I don't know.
We definitely are.
Are we though? Let's double
Yes.
check that. My point
No,
is that
I checked it frequently.
I'm
Okay.
gonna check. I'm gonna check.
In fact, if you combine, sorry, just to go one step further, if you combine Corridor and Corridor Crew, we're in like the top 1,000.
well, if you combine them.
If you combine them.
okay, still
Can
though.
we combine them?
Still,
Wait, Niko, I suggested combining them years ago.
No.
Never happened.
Um, my point being though is that when I started with Corridor in 2012, Corridor was a top 100 YouTube channel.
Yes.
Heck yes.
We were,
We were
I remember
77 was the top.
Yeah, because I remember joining when we were just under 100, and then we slowly started climbing up over 100, or sorry, under 100 and down, and like it was really cool. Of course, Freddie at the time was like number 5,
Yeah.
the Freddie W channel
They got to
rather.
3, I think. is their-
Yeah, they got it's like that was a big deal, and then
Sorry, go
slowly
ahead.
over time, it was just like it's not that we lost popularity. We've only continued gaining popularity since then, but the speed at which we've done that is not nearly as fast as everyone else on the platform who has rocketed up past us.
That's true and not true. We have like we've had different phases.
Okay, you're
I
absolutely
guess,
right. We
where
have
we-
gone through phases because
Yeah.
I got a new phone recently, and I went to the store over the weekend to get the SIM card installed, and the guy putting in my card, he was like, he waited until he had my name down. He's like, "I love your stuff." I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
Slipped it in there.
Likewise, when I ordered some stuff from Sweetwater Music, and the guy, he's like, "Okay, we got all your stuff. I should be there in 2 weeks. Also, you should look into Surf Ninjas for Stuntman React."
You put a suggestion. It's like a comment that he left IRL.
But my point was that he had no idea who we were before last year. He started watching all our videos through once quarantine started, and most new viewers only know us from the Corridor Crew channel, and they have no idea that we made all these hyper viral videos, 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And they like, and I see this a lot. People like, I'll get tweets from me like, "Oh my God, I had no idea you were the guys who made this video. I fell in love with you last year, but it turns out I fell in love with you 8 years ago and just forgot
All
who
the
you
time
were."
I've loved you.
It's just fun. I mean, we've been on this platform for so long now that it's like you have those phases, and people
Yeah.
only know those phases. They don't know your whole history.
It also goes to show how bad of a business model viral videos are for audience retention.
That's an interesting point.
Like, you
Wow.
think about people's habits on the platform. Like, most people aren't. I don't think there's a lot of people who have been on the platform consistently since the beginning as a consumer of content.
The only ones I can think of are like Rhett and Link.
No, I'm saying like as a
Oh, as consumer.
as a
Consumer.
viewer.
Sorry. I thought you were talking as
as a
producers.
viewer.
I
Like,
have been a consumer since the very beginning.
Yeah,
yeah, I
same.
mean, I guess I have too. I just don't. I don't know.
I
if that's
uploaded my
true
first video in
broadly or
May of
not.
2006.
Man.
Anyway, we are 2,916 subscriber ranking on Corridor Crew.
What? Say that number again.
2916
On Corridor?
Corridor Crew.
Oh, hit me with Corridor.
Also the video view rank on Corridor Crew we're at 56.
Yeah,
By the way, it's worth mentioning. Corridor.
you
We're
can't
not giving it any
combine, though,
attention. It's
because
old, right?
Okay, Corridor.
But before
Gets more views
Christian
than
throws out
Corridor
Corridor,
Crew.
I just want to point out, like, we're still gonna make Corridor videos. Don't worry. But like, this past year, especially the pandemic and everything else going on, it's become a thing in the background.
Yeah.
Corridor still blows Corridor Crew out of the water
Mm.
with numbers, which is nuts.
Well,
Subscriber rank is 1,064.
1,064 for Corridor.
Not top 1,000, Niko.
Oh, come on. I said if you combine them. Combine them.
you gotta combine.
That is better than I expected, to
And
be
then
honest.
Video view rank 2,500.
So the video view rank is even higher than our overall rank.
And that's
Subscribers on Corridor.
And that's the channel that we don't even
Wait, what? The
post stuff
video?
on right now.
The video.
Like the views, the Corridor channel.
You said 2,500?
Mhm.
That's
YouTube.
that's a higher number than 1,000, so that's
No.
not better. I'm
With respect
confused.
to the Corridor Crew.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
But
Well, it's
that's-
because we got those videos that have like 100 million views on them.
that's
It's
because
like-
Yeah.
there's that 150 mil view world's longest lightsaber.
50 mil.
No, that's
150.
more.
Oh,
150.
150.
There you go.
Yeah.
We should make another one of those. That was fun.
Yeah. Just use Camtrack AR so I don't have to track the shots anymore. Yeah, it's crazy. Like Corridor gets more subscribers per day than Corridor Crew. Now, today, Corridor picked up more subscribers than Corridor Crew.
Skeptical of that video idea. Like, Niko, this is a terrible idea. Da, 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 da.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, both Carmichael and I scoffed at your idea of doing vlogs.
It's true.
This
we
was
all
like
do
this
that.
is like December 2015, and you're like, what if we started doing like daily vlogs? And both Carmichael and I were like, no one would watch that.
For a long time, no one did.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to take us out. But before we do, I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about my brand new hand pan.
Yes, sir.
So I got this on Friday. I put in the order back in October, I believe. So it turns out there's a hand pan craftsman, actually a whole workshop in Glendale, Nirvana Hand Pan and Acolyte Instruments. One of the people who were listening to the podcast was actually trying to make his own hand pan and hit them up and got a job there.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, which is cool. So, hand pans usually don't come in stainless steel. Usually there are different other forms of steel. But stainless steel
Mercury.
resonates very, very nicely. However, it's very hard to work. So this pan, the guy who's working on it, he actually threw it away halfway through and started over.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dang.
that's just one. Their commitment to quality is really up there, but two, it's how hard stainless steel is to work.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
like, and it also just reinforces that the value isn't in the material; it's the craftsmanship.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's the thing for almost any like nice instrument too. But the other cool things about it is I got an extra note on the bottom,
Oh, point it to the camera so they can see it.
Yeah.
and then I dropped a note on the top. My other hand pan had a B flat, which was the 6th interval on the scale. And I dropped that one because you don't use the 6th too often in minor scales, and I added an octave at the top because the root note is kind of resolving note. Like you need that to finish your phrase, right?
Right.
So when you're doing your little solos and stuff, you can get in there. But the hand pan resonates very nicely.
Oh, you can hear all the dedication in the vibrations.
You can.
You can hear all that.
And the other nice thing about the resonance is you can get that wah effect. Let's see if you can hear it through this microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point it right in there.
So it's what I'm doing there is I'm waving my hand over it. I'm not touching the hand pan. I'm literally just waving my hand over the zone that I hit, and it disrupts the sound waves and gives me a
See, that's
wah.
what I'm confused about. So it's like you're waving the air around, and that's what's disrupting it. Because I asked you, would it not work if you have your hand like parallel to the surface?
No.
Because I was thinking maybe it would be like reflecting the sound waves off your hand, but it works this way.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which is like, okay, so maybe it's an air thing.
Maybe? It has
Maybe
to
it's
be.
maybe the sound waves are bouncing off your hand outwards, and this is just I don't know.
It's called a
I'm just very
waft. You
confused.
waft the
Yeah,
vibrations.
you waft the note.
Waff, 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 waff. Sense for sound waves. Someone explain it.
I don't get it either, Ren.
So okay, handpan.
Mhm.
Is that the actual official name of this instrument?
So the very first handpan was called the Hong drum, and I can't remember if it was made by a guy who was Swedish or Swiss because they kind of become the same thing in my mind, even though they're definitely not. So,
You
anyways,
just started a war.
so Hong is the either Swedish, I think it's Swiss. Actually, it must be Swiss because Hong is, I think, the Swiss term for hand.
Okay.
So hand drum,
Okay.
and it was basically the guy made sound sculptures. Needless to say, they cost 10 grand, and you had to write an essay to even be considered, and
Whoa.
so on and so forth. But people, little by little, kind of got their hands on them, and were like, "Wait,
You
we
got
can
their
make
hongs
these."
on them.
They got their hongs on them. Yeah, exactly. So for a long time, people called them the hang drums. They kind of give
Hang
it the
drum, that's one
Americanized
I've heard.
accent. However, that's the brand name for that specific sound sculpture from that specific company.
Okay.
So this is not a hang drum. This is a handpan because it's not made by that, whatever that company
Right.
is in Switzerland.
Kleenex versus tissue.
Right, exactly. So needless to say, I have it. It's in the key of D minor. I've been waiting for it for a long time, and I think it sounds lovely, and I'm going to play a little bit of it as we end the podcast here.
All right.
Sounds great.
Dude, let's go.
I'm ready to be put to sleep.
Good night, gentlemen. If you're interested in joining us live, consider subscribing to corridordigital.com, where we have exclusive shows, an entire vlog just dedicated to the crazy things we do around here. We've also got a show called Functional Filmmaking, brought to you by David Carmichael, the one and only. I bet you didn't know that his first name was David. Now you do, because you listened to the podcast.
All right, wake up, everybody.
Oh,
Oh, what happened?
is it tomorrow?
All right,
Thanks for watching.
listening.
Watching or listening? Both!